Injustice is becoming a really cool series, guys, and I'm looking forward, of course, to the next iteration that is going to be coming in what is being rumored as, of course, Injustice 3. And guys, I want to talk about everything that we know so far about Injustice 3, the leaks, the rumors, the rumblings, and I want to break it down for all of you, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So guys, in an article that's coming to us from Lloyd Coombs of Gfinity, Injustice 3 Warner Brothers DC Comics smash up has been rumored to be in the works for a while. We know, for instance, NetherRealm Studios was hiring for next-gen installments of both of the studio's big two fighting game franchises, that being, of course, Injustice, guys, as well as Mortal Kombat. Now, in the latest, guys, speaking on a new Giant Bomb video, journalist Jeff Grubb has suggested that issues relating to Warner Brothers games has led to NetherRealm changing projects. It lines up with the reality, and it lines up with what I've heard, where Mortal Kombat 12 would make the most sense because that's a game they know will make money. It will sell well. Mortal Kombat 11 was great. It's doing well, but if you come out with Mortal Kombat 12, it will also sell and do well, Grubb said, speaking on the Giant Bomb. Now, obviously, guys, as we've gone through the year, NetherRealm has announced it's ended Mortal Kombat 11 support to focus on a new game. There's no indication that might be Injustice 3, but there's no indication it isn't. So, before we go any farther, let's talk about that. So, guys, obviously, to me, what makes more sense, Injustice or Mortal Kombat? Okay, well, if we're looking at just those two games, Mortal Kombat makes more sense for them to be working on next, that being NetherRealm, simply because Mortal Kombat, like it's stated, they know it's going to make money. Now, Injustice, not saying it's not going to make money, but it's not as popular of a franchise. Mortal Kombat, guys, has had 11 iterations, 11 installments, whereas we've had 2 Injustice titles up to this point. You give Injustice a little bit of some more time, like a few more installments, and sure, I think it's going to start climbing the ladder as far as, you know, a title that is, you know, a legacy title, something that they want to continue for the foreseeable future. With Mortal Kombat, it's already at that point. It's already kind of, you know, it's a standard of the fighting genre as a whole, and so they're going to continue making those. But to me, making Injustice 3 makes a ton of sense because obviously, the first 2 were pretty good titles, guys, in the fighting genre. And I think if you continue making them, it's going to get better and more refined. And like I said, it can become more and more like a legacy title over the foreseeable future. So I'm hoping that they work on both of them, but if we look at it from a business perspective right here, right now, Mortal Kombat 12 makes more sense than Injustice 3, but I still think that Injustice 3 is going to happen. Kind of reminds me of like Rockstar and what they're doing right now. Obviously, most likely they're working on GTA 6, but on the back burner, they've also got Max Payne 4 that they could be working on. They have another, Bully 2 that they could be working on, another Manhunt, another LA Noire, so on and so forth. So it kind of reminds me of that. Even though the focal point is Mortal Kombat, I think that Injustice certainly can also be worked on. NetherRealm Studios' latest job ad states that the studio is seeking a principal software engineer to drive the next generation console graphics vision for the Mortal Kombat and Injustice franchises. So let's talk about the release date, guys. That's the big one that people are talking about. NetherRealm Studios is yet to formally announce the game, but that's not to say it's not being talked about. So, in an interview with GameSpot back in April, creative director Ed Boon noted that the team is working on something secret. It's hard to tell the timing because we don't have a launch date that we've picked for our next game, and there are so many factors involved with the transition to the next consoles, etc. So as far as what consoles and platforms is Injustice 3 going to release on? So we would, obviously, guys, we're assuming it's going to be coming to PlayStation 5, obviously Xbox Series X, S. Most likely it'll come to, PC and then, potentially Nintendo Switch. So as far as the roster goes, guys, that is total speculation for the most part, but let's just talk about it. Of course, Injustice is all about fighting DC's finest heroes and worst villains in iconic stages, and you can expect the majority of the second game's roster to return. Justice League's stalwarts like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman seem likely, as well as baddies like Lex Luthor, Catwoman, the Joker, and Harley Quinn. Rumors have suggested that characters from Watchmen could arrive, but whether that's true is anyone's guess. Still considering the DLC for Injustice 2 included the likes of Sub-Zero and Raiden from Mortal Kombat and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's really anyone's guess. And I totally agree with that. I think, guys, that what we can expect at this point in time, a lot of it's speculation, right? Obviously, what's the Injustice 3 roster going to be like when we haven't even gotten a release date, when we haven't even got full confirmation that Injustice 3 is actually being made? I think we got to, obviously crawl before we walk before we run before we sprint kind of ordeal. And so I think that Injustice 3 is certainly something that is being talked about, and it very well may be in the very early stages of development. So with that being said, let's talk about this. I believe, guys, that this is where we're at. Mortal Kombat 12 is certainly being worked on. There's no question about it. But is there a slight, a smaller team that is working on Injustice 3 over at NetherRealm Studios? And my answer to that is yes, I do believe that there is a team working on, whether it's concept art, whether it is, obviously, in the very early stages of development. I think there is a team that is actively working on it, because obviously they're working on Mortal Kombat 12, but they're going to want something to follow that up with, and it's not going to necessarily be Mortal Kombat 13 right away. They're going to be working on other games as well. They're going to want to make sure that Mortal Kombat 12 is refined and put together well, and, there's going to be a support team when that releases. Injustice 3 certainly could be coming at some point down the stretch after Mortal Kombat 12. So let's just say that Mortal Kombat 12 comes out in the next 2 to 3 years. I would say that Injustice 3 is going to be further than that, obviously. I would say potentially 4 to 6 years away at this point in time. However, guys, we could all of a sudden get some, big time news that comes out that it's actually being worked on and that it's actually close to completion. So that being said, I'll be sure to give you guys more information as it comes out. What do you guys think about it? Do you think Injustice 3 should be a priority or Mortal Kombat 12? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Injustice 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.